This Liberty Sports Update is brought to you by Beacon Credit Union.
Overall, so our keys to the game, well, first off, I thought Coach did a phenomenal job managing the game. I think it's got to start there. He and I talked early in the process, and both of us just felt like if we could limit their snaps from a depth standpoint, it would give us a chance. And we played 9 plays in the first quarter. So going in at halftime, we'd given up 20 points, but I felt really good about it, and I could tell our kids felt good about it at halftime when I could see the look in their eye. I felt all week we were going to win the game. Our kids were really confident. I told my guys on Thursday, in our linebacker room that I 100% expected us to win the game. I just felt confident in our guys. Our game plan was, these guys were really, really good at running the football, as you guys know, and so we tried to get as many hats to the +1 quarterback run game as possible, and which forced him to throw it a little bit. I thought he threw the ball really well. I thought that was the best game that he'd played this season. On the flip side, but I thought our kids played extremely physical and hard. In particular, our D tackles, we knocked them back the whole game. Our D tackles, without a doubt, won that battle on the inside. Ralph's, Elijah, and Henry. I thought all 3 of those guys, were the players of the game for us on defense. We didn't get knocked back at all, and so I thought it started there. I thought our kids, like I said, I thought we played extremely hard. Guys like Anthony Butler who played every snap. I should have taken him out on the last drive. That was on me. He was spent at that point. And but I thought it meant a lot to our kids. Our game plan, we wanted to as a staff just make them earn the field. Was kind of what we preached all week. They had been so explosive, run game and throw game. Their screen game was really, really explosive going into this game. They hit Wake on a big one early. And so, I felt like what kept us in the game was our kids understanding the game plan, making them earn the field. I felt like in the first half, there was a couple of those that were just short field situations. They popped a, Q run here or there, but it was nothing that was, I think we gave up. So 31, 20, 19, and 15 were their most explosive runs. And that was typically I wouldn't be, happy with that, but I was pretty pleased as far as, just not giving up a huge one. Felt like we made them, they abandoned the true run game, which was huge. And the fact that, it was so much Q run game, you got to make them beat you left-handed. If you want them to have to run the quarterback to win the game and take it out of the running back's hands. And so now the flip side of that is that's going to come down to, one-on-one plays a lot of times. They're running the quarterback. They've got they got 10, we got 10 and one free hitter if we've done it right. And so, they made some plays on us here and there. So, but overall, thought we played hard, thought we were physical. I thought we played well enough for us to win the game on offense. The negatives to me, with positive 3rd and long, we were 4 for 4 on 3rd and long defense, 7+, which, was a must going into that game. You couldn't let them convert on a 3rd and long. They were so tough on 3rd and short, especially 4-down territory. The negative was the flip side of that. 3rd and 4th and short, we gave up 2 4th and goal touchdowns, and then we were 1 of 4 on 3rd and short. And we had numbers on those runs. We just, we overscraped a couple times at linebacker, weren't tight enough at strong safety. And so those are opportunities to get off the field, or at least make them have to go for it on 4th down in the open field. But probably just the big negative. We didn't create any takeaways. We could have made, if we could have made one play there at the end. I know you guys kind of felt probably like I did. Just in the last 4 minutes, if we could have made one play, whether it was a 2-point play, whether it was the 4th and goal. The game's over, and we're not even talking about the last second field goal. So those are the areas that I've challenged the guys, and I think that, what we talked about today is, that comes from your practice habits too, finishing on balls against scout receivers, not going through the motions, but being so detail-oriented. So, definitely room for improvement. I think we could have played better. I think we could have held them to around 21 points, honestly. But the unknown in that game for me was what the field position was going to look like. Early in the first half, the field position wasn't great for us, with some turnovers. I think the one kickoff that went out of bounds was in the first half. So there were some times where, they had a little bit shorter of a field. And so, I felt like if they had to go the full length and we could just make them snap it again, we'd have an opportunity to get some stops where we could make some plays there. So that's kind of where it's at. That's kind of how I see it. I was kicking myself on those goal line calls after the game. Both those were like 4th and 3s. On the season, those have been all pass situations. When they were in the tight red, where we thought it was all going to be boot stuff. I could have probably put us in some situations where maybe we'd have been on more alert to it. But the quarterback run game, especially late, had been so big. Coach and I were talking on the headset, and I wanted to play coverage, but then I'm sitting there. We're worried about him tucking it and running if we play coverage. So we just said, hey, we're going to bring everybody and see if we can get a win and make the kid make a throw. And he made a throw. He made a throw. Their guy out executed our guy. So and that happened on back-to-back consecutive plays. On the next one, we have a guy come out of coverage, and it's going to be a one-on-one tackle situation, and we cut a guy loose. And so definitely areas we can get better. But just proud for our kids. It's a huge win for our program. Huge win for all the people that have sat in this chair before myself, and from administration standpoint, just couldn't be happier for these guys and just what this means for Liberty. But our kids know we're not done yet, and it's on to the next one, and that's what we talked about today.
Very good, Coach. Before we get to the media, I've got one for you here.
Yes, sir.
Just Anthony Butler, for him to make some of those plays that he did on Hooker, those +1 runs, and going out there with a cast on his hand. I mean, playing, like you said, pretty much every snap. I mean, what has this kid meant to the program?
Yeah, he's been a ton, Nick. I mean, I think just his evolution as a player in his time being here. I think, and I'll tell you, I think Coach Messer's done a phenomenal job working with him. He's a guy that doesn't get enough credit with our linebackers. As a defensive coordinator and position coach, I've got to have a graduate assistant that I can really lean on, and he's a guy that, I don't know how well you guys know him, but played the position recently at a high level, was an FCS All-American, and he's a great resource for our guys. But for Anthony, thought he made some really good plays in the game, and plays I expected him to make. But, all our guys, we had two one-handed linebackers out there, one playing with a cast, one playing with a wrist injury, and I thought they didn't bat an eye. I told them you're not tapping out today, and they knew it going in. And I thought he played really, really hard. I think that's the one biggest thing that I was pleased. He definitely spilled it, and you could see at the end. Like I said, that last drive I should have got him out. I should have put Dupree in. He'd actually had been playing. He had limited snaps. I should have played Tyron Moore. I told him after the game because he was playing well. But yeah, Anthony's a guy that's improved consistently, I think, throughout the course of the season, and has a lot of areas still for growth that we've discussed, and he's eager, and that's a big thing.
All right, next let's go to Emily Austin from Flame Central.
Hey, Coach, congrats on the win.
Thank you.
Just curious on, Coach was saying that this might be one of his biggest challenges, bringing the guys back down to earth after such a big emotional win. Would you agree with that, and how do you plan to get your defense just as, I guess you can say, hype and focused for not as big of an opponent?
Yeah, like I told the guys today, this week's first off, we're not going to overlook anybody, but this week's, like any week, it's about focusing on us, and there's a lot that we can get better at fundamentally. And I think that, we really haven't had a bye week from the standpoint of, Virginia Tech, we had a bye week before, but we were prepping the whole week for this game. And so, as we prep for Western Carolina, it's about just, focusing on getting better at our techniques, our fundamentals. They've got, 9 starters coming back on offense. That's what I told the kids today. I mean, they're a team that's got a lot of experience, and So we're not going to overlook anybody, and it's about us, and I think our kids are hungry. So I expect them to prepare as such. I'm with you. Obviously, you go from an in-state rivalry game and everything else, but I think part of being a pro, and what we talked about today is, part of being a pro is coming to work every single day, no matter what the situation is. And so we challenge them to that, and they're excited, and I think we'll carry that energy into how we focus throughout this week.
All right, next let's go to Damian Sorolette from the Lynchburg News in Advance.
Scott, you've had to deal with this twice this year with FIU and North Alabama coming into a game, not having any film from them this year. Since you've been through that before and Western Carolina brings back same coordinator, 9 starters, does that help in preparation for them, even though you haven't seen anything on them in terms of tendencies and whatnot this year?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we're going to look at the sample size that we have, but like I said, kind of to answer your question, I mean, Damian, I think it's focusing on us and the fundamentals of us. There's times where it's like, man, it'd be nice to know who the starting quarterback was this week. But you adjust and you adjust as the game goes on too. So I think you have a plan, and then as a coaching staff, we have to make sure our plan is sound. We put our kids in position to make plays, and then the game is there's very little calls in most games that I feel like that as a staff or myself that I just try to not put them in bad situations. Put them in a call that they know how to get lined up in. You want to try to put them in the best call available, but then they got to make plays, and we as a staff have to make in-game adjustments. I think that's more what football is on game day, is who can make adjustments on the defensive side than who can always make the perfect call. I used to think of it, man, I got to put them in the best call all the time. Well, play within the framework of the defense, and and then it's our job as coaches to adjust and coach on the fly, and their job as players to make in-game adjustments. So to answer your question, we'll prepare for what we saw with one quarterback. We'll prepare for, what you're going to get with a running quarterback, and, we'll get our kids ready as best we can, then we'll make adjustments as needed, hopefully.
This past Saturday, there was a little shuffling in the secondary. He said Stone got the start. You guys moved Haskins over to cornerback. Tim Kid Glass finally got on the field. How do you evaluate how everyone played back there in the secondary?
I'll just say corner standpoint, I'll tell you the positives. It's the most physical I've ever seen our corners play. Dabney, Marcus. I joked with Marcus today. I said, man, you tackle way better as a corner than as a safety. But, I mean, he tackled really well, was physical. Dabney was really physical. And so those were big-time positives. We just need more we need more depth in that room and guys that have ball skills. And I think that's the one thing with Marcus that I love is, I know he has ball skills. I want to see it translate, and we want to challenge him to that this week because we were in position to make a lot of plays. As a downside in that room, we just didn't finish. Any one of those one-on-one plays on the outside, if we can make one here or there, I think it changes the dynamic of the whole game. So putting a guy over there that we can develop in that room, and we haven't had that luxury because of the depth in the safety room. So, I was cautiously optimistic at the start of the season about Tim, but it hasn't transpired. I thought he played well in his time. I think time will tell. Consistency is key, and so his how he responds and how he practices and how he plays this week and subsequent weeks going forward is going to really show us, if he's a guy we can trust in the depth and the rotation. Hopefully, be able to push for a starting spot. That's what the expectation would be. We're just probably not at that point yet. We need to see the consistent production and practice and play. And I think he's a guy that hadn't had reps, so he hadn't had a lot of reps, in games. So I expect him to get better. I was really pleased with how Said Stone played. I thought he managed the game. I thought he stayed on top. I thought he made tackles when there was one quarterback power that broke. I thought he made a big-time tackle on it just to get him down. That's all we asked those guys. I thought Quentin Reese came in and played really well at the safety position, and that's a guy that we expect to have a bigger role playing safety for us here moving forward. So, overall, though, I think it's a plus for our secondary to be able to get Marcus in the corner room and be able to get Tim back on the field for sure.
let's go to John Manson from A Sea of Red.
Coach, what type of challenges does Western Carolina present your defense this week?
Well, first off, the offensive coordinators and offensive line guys, so they're going to start with running the football. They have all 5 starters coming back up front, multiple backs coming back. So everything starts with stopping the run, and we've got to be better there, obviously, statistically than what we were this last week. And I think they're similar to us on offense, RPO-based offense, tempo. So I think there'll be just some good carryover from what we see every single day. But I think that's where it starts for us every week. And like I said, John, just right now I'm at the point. It's early this week as we're game planning, but focusing on us getting better and improving in the areas that we need to improve on as well.
Looks like that they may go with a dual threat guy at quarterback. I think they've got a junior college transfer that played really well there. If that's the case, I mean, does it help that you're coming off of seeing a guy like Hendon Hooker here just this past week?
Yeah, well, the junior college kid was actually played at Carrollton, so he was a guy that Coach Aldridge remembered from recruiting him when we left West Georgia there. So he's definitely a dual threat guy. Good athlete, and then they've got a senior that's an older guy that started 3 games for him last year, played in the NC State game, played in the Chattanooga game. So he's got trying to think, he played in 2 more games, but he's got some experience for him. So I don't think the offense changes a ton, probably. With who the quarterback is. Obviously, if you got a guy that can run, you'll get more. Maybe some more triple option or power read plus 1 run game. But, that's why I think we just focus on, getting better at us as we prep for these guys and make sure we don't overlook anybody because as good as everybody feels right now, like you guys know, we're on the other end of this, it'd be a tough feeling. So I think our kids know that and just continue to humble them. I think that's a huge part of this process is just staying humble and being thankful for the blessings that we've been given. That's kind of what with the guys we talked about with the linebackers after the game was just being thankful in the good times, just as much as we are thankful in the tough times. I think it's very easy as a believer when everything's good to forget how blessed we've been and to thank God for the opportunity and the blessings that we've been given. So just keeping our kids humble, grounded, staying hungry, and just continuing to work towards the goal. 1 week at a time.
Yeah, something else too, just to follow up to that, it probably helps. I was talking to a friend of mine who's an alum, and this team really still hasn't peaked yet, has it? I mean, defensively, there's still like you said earlier, there's still improvements to be made. Does that help? At this point in the season? For
sure. I think when you look at it, where we're at. Just with so many, we had a lot of new starters going into the season. Both backers were new starters. Treadwell, new starter. Quentin Reese at strong safety's playing. That's a new position, freshman. Marcus Haskins. So the only starter we had coming back, I guess, Dabney and Scruggs really in the secondary. So you say that because, you're halfway through the season, but there's still a ton of growth and development left for us. And so that's why I'm optimistic. I love, I think as a defensive guy, it's hard to not be a stats guy, but I focused more on, we focused more on staff, how do we play start to finish and just, at the end of the day, improving each week. So, I think there's definitely areas where we can continue to improve and grow overall as a unit for sure.